So we talked about the master data and some of the features of PPDS in our last session. Today we'll touch upon the configuration part that is required in PPDS module, and then we'll go into the heuristics that are being used during the PPDS planning run. While heuristic has different types, we will cover two types of heuristic, which is planning and service today. And then we'll talk about the scheduling heuristics in our next session. So at a high level, we are going to talk about the configuration first that are relevant in the PPDS module, and then we'll talk about the heuristics. So then let's start with the configuration part, and for that we'll go to the system. So maybe Jay will share the screen. And we'll go to model and version management. I stopped sharing.
You can wait.
Okay, yeah, okay. So we are going to see. So this is one of the important configuration that we need to do before we start using PPDS. So there is a concept called model, and then there is an associated version.
Yeah. I'm sorry, have you shared the screen? Screen is
no,
not
screen
visible.
sharing is not there. So is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So we can go with path. Okay, so let's go to the model via the tree, menu tree, logistic. The first one, model in machine learning. Okay, so, and I hope my voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So the first thing, not the first thing, one of the important configuration that we perform in PPDS is creation of model and planning version. So by default, 000 model is the active model. And then 000 version is also called active version. So if I double click into this, you will see that the name of this 000 is I think somebody, yeah, it's the PPDS on HANA active version. So what happens? The entire live cache at a database level gets associated with this model 000. So functionally, if we look at the storage of data in the live cache, we really store everything in this model, which means we are storing everything in the live cache. So that's how at a high level we just understand this model as. Okay, so we will see, we'll look at the product master. And when we look at the product master, we are looking at the product master in 000 model and in 000 version. So a model really represents nothing but the live cache where my data, master data is being stored. Now, there is a associated version. So in the version, usually the transaction data are stored. So in a model, we can have multiple version, but one version is a live version. So this 000 is the live version, which means any transaction data, any quantity, etc., that we see in 000 is what is my real working transaction data. I can have a simulation version associated with my 000 model. So here we can create one more version for this model, but that will become a simulation version. So what happens in simulation version? we will have the, so because it is associated with 000 model, so even the simulation version is going to source all the master data from the 000 model, but then all the transaction data that we will have in the simulation version is going to be non-live. So that's not the real number, which is actually, so when we transfer the data, the planned orders from PPDS to S4, all the planned orders that are there in 000 version only will go across and not the simulation version data. So at a high level, the concept of model and version is about looking at my live cache memory from a functional perspective. So entire live cache I can see as being the 000 model, where I am storing my master data, and then within that 000 model I can have an active version which is 000, and I can have more simulation versions. If everything is not understood, it's absolutely fine, because it is more of a technical step, configuration step that we do one time and then we move on. Because as a PPDS consultant, we just need to understand that this is how it works. Okay. Now,
Sir,
yeah.
are we on the same screen, model planning, version management, display planning, version data, or we are on some other screen?
No, we are on the same screen. I was just
Okay.
trying to
I just
explain.
thought he's froze. I just thought he's.
No. So yeah, so I'm right now into the model. So when we create the model, you see, we just create a model 000. Okay. So first time when live cache has been installed in our S4 system and everything, all the prerequisites from the basis part is done, then we come here and then we create the 000 version. So as you see, it was created by Ashutosh and then it was changed by Jay. Yeah. But this is our active model. And then there is an associated active version connected to this model. So this is 000 active version. And then some of the PPDS relevant setup are there. So I will just talk about those. So this is the active version. And then the change planning active is there. And then more importantly for us is this field, PPDS horizon in days. So what happens? All the stuff that we're going to do using PPDS, planning, heuristic, etc., those will be effective to the number of days that we maintain here. Okay. Usually PPDS is being run in immediate 2 to 3 months, because beyond that there is no real purpose of running PPDS, because we don't want my plan to be that much accurate beyond 3 months. So it's a big decision that any customer, wherever we are going to implement this, takes, that what is his horizon in which he wants to run PPDS, which means he wants his plan to be so much accurate, because PPDS is an accurate planning engine. So usually it is 120 days. But then obviously this field is open for us to make any number that we want. Okay. If number of days are more, means you are going to create more accurate plan, which means more memory intensive, and then performance and all that is going to come. Now, there are some more fields which we can talk a little bit later. Determine priority, take safety stock into account. One of these will, I think this take safety stock into account is a field which we need to maintain upfront. Whatever we maintain, it is not, we are not able to change it back later. So if I go to the change mode here, yeah, it is changeable for now. F1 is the okay. Yeah. So it says PPT is defined. Any this option, say virtual. Okay. We will see this later. One of the fields out of these is one which was not changeable. So I'll just figure out if they have allowed it to change. But for now, we'll just focus on this one. That what is the PPDS one? So once we set up, let's say 120 days. So what will happen for all the materials or the products we are going to plan using PPDS? This 120 days is applicable to all of them. So we are not going to maintain PPDS horizon in our product master, and it cannot be different for each material, for a different material. So whatever we do here, it's applicable to everything. So now we come out of this. And then
Sorry,
we'll do.
so one question here.
Yes, yes.
So you create another model, and can we have a limited number of data into that, version data into that? For example, I want to have only a few work centers in that particular 001, let us say,
Yes.
particular few materials and few
Yeah.
work center, few routings, because I want to do some testing, I mean,
Correct.
simulations, and
Correct.
then need to see the output of that and go ahead with that. But here
Yes.
it looks
Yes.
like everything is being, if you define a particular model
Hmm.
and the version, everything is being, all the data is being going into that particular combination of model and version. Is that right?
Yes. When we bring the data from S4 via this active advanced planning check, or we do SIF, then it by default comes to 000 model and 000 version. But if
Correct.
we want to create any master data version specific, then we'll have to create it directly in PPDS. So just to RES1. Here, if I want to create something, so obviously we have not created a new version for us, but if I want to create a source resource for my simulation version, then I will have to create the resource here, and then I will have to assign that resource to that version. Okay, the new version. I don't make it. We don't have the. Let me see. Okay, so here this is the existing product and location. So choose planning version. So we can choose
Okay.
if we have created multiple planning version, then we can choose the planning version for this master data, and then that becomes the planning version specific master data. So that's possible to have a small set of master
Okay.
data in a
So what I was
particular
saying
version.
is basically a bunch of master data that
Hmm.
can be put in a version and a model combination. Then we can
Yes,
go ahead with the transaction levels and see how it behaves, and we can
exactly.
provide the multiple outputs to the user and I mean, tasks for his opinion,
Yes,
something
yes,
like that. Yeah,
yes.
it is
So
possible. Okay.
correct. So if let's say if I assign these two to our 001, if I had created, I'm not going to create it because it might confuse everybody. But then if we create that, and then one of the views that we are going to look at today in more detail is product view. So then here, when I am going to product view, I can choose which planning version I want to work with. So 000 is one, and if there was a 001, then I can work with this product location at 1001 version. And then there I can perform several things that I want to. So it's possible to have my master data to be version specific, my transaction data to be version specific, and perform certain planning task in that version only in the simulation
So
version.
you said that so in the at a live cache database
Yeah,
level, so
yeah,
000 includes everything. But
yeah.
if we create a combination of a model and a version, so that will
Simulation
be separate session. I mean, space, right, for that particular
within.
data.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Within that. No, so we don't create multiple models. We have only one model, but within
Okay,
that model we can create multiple versions, and
okay.
we can have master data and transaction data in the version specific to the version.
So model is always going to be 000, no matter what.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Okay.
think we can create more models, but I've not seen using multiple models. But so usually we keep only one model 000, and then we can create multiple versions within that.
Can look at it. Have a look at it.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, so the next one we are going to look at is the global parameters. So global parameters, I think in SPRO, let's see. Yeah, global settings. So in global parameters, we will not go much into detail, but at a high level, I'll just touch upon that few of the settings are maintained here. Um, because it is global, so these settings are applicable to all the PPDS related uh, runs we are going to do later subsequently. In those cases, when we have not put something specific, then PPDS run falls back to this setup and then uses that. So for example, we see here, so we say use number range, and number range number is NC here. So what we have done here is there is a number range that has been defined for PPDS. So by default, whenever a PPDS planned order is created, this range will be used. But if this was unticked, then this number range in NC will not be used, and then system will assign whatever number that by default it thinks. But in this case, it will go to NC and then it will check what is the number range, what is the next number, and then it will assign from that. So number range thing is here. Then heuristic for change quantity. So this is one of the heuristics. It says that whenever there is a change happening in the orders, then which heuristic is going to run. So we will mention multiple heuristic in our product master. And then during the run also we will mention heuristics. But if none of those heuristics are there, maintained there, then for that particular material, it will default to this heuristic. So at this point, we just need to understand that there is a global parameter setting where.
Pankaj, can you go back to the previous screen? Sorry.
Previous screen, this one.
Okay. Yes. So here, what is the difference between the heuristic and the function as such?
Function is the ABAP function. Okay, so all the code is really written in this. And then on top of that code, we have several fields which we can check. So hold this thought. When we go to PP002, we are going to go there. So I will talk about different fields and then we'll touch upon this because there is a function there as well. Okay, we'll go there. So right now, even here, we will not go much into the details, but the one of the fact that we need to keep with us is that this global parameters has many setup that we perform here, and this will be defaulted if any specific thing is not maintained. And when we touch upon those specific things, then I will circle back to this, that if it is not maintained here, then it will come to the global setting. Okay, so but high level, you see plan explosion. So how to explode and transfer to R3. So always create, do not create. So there are some setup related to PPDS process is there, and then that is there here. Conversion rule, etc. We'll touch upon and come back to this once again. There is some ATP related setup as well. But for us in this session, we don't need to go into detail. But one thing which is important for us to note is that there is a ATP category that gets associated to each of the elements. So for example, a planned order. Okay, so all the planned orders in PPDS are associated with this category in AI. If that planned order is formed, it is categorized at AJ. So it's again at a technical level, but for us, we should know that there is a ATP category assignments that happens, and these categories are largely going to be used during the ATP available to promise process. But at this point, just let's understand that some of the ATP groups are ATP categories are associated with these elements. Okay, so we'll just leave this this screen at this point. We'll come back to this whenever we go into detail and we find that we need to come back and talk about it. So that's the global parameter and defaults. Now, the next one that we wanted to touch upon is PP planning procedure. So do we know where is that here? PP planning. Can we do a search?
Maintain planning procedure.
Maintain planning procedure. Do you see somewhere?
Yeah,
here it is. Yes, correct. Okay. Now this is, we are coming to a little bit specific. So PP planning procedure is the setting that we maintain in our material master. So what this indicates is that how my material, that individual material, is going to respond to the the events that are going to happen in my system. Okay. There are three options. So let's say the first one, manual with check. So what happens when we select this option? There is a reaction to events. So for each of these PP planning procedure, 1, 2, and I'll go back and see. So for each of these planning procedure, we maintain how the system need to react to the events. Okay, planning specific related events. So usually we use 4. So I think I'll go back to 4, and that's more detailed, and then we can come back to 1 and 3 and see how it is different than 4. Okay. So let's go to 4. 4 is planning with planning run. So what happens in this? So planning with planning run, reaction to events. We'll read this. So now you will see what are the events: create or change of a purchase requisition, create or change of a production order, planned order. So anything that you do with a material, so you get a new sales order, you create a new purchase order, you receive some quantity for that. So all such planning relevant change, whatever keeps on happening during the day for a product are all planning relevant changes. Okay. So what is not planning relevant change? If let's say something, if we do something in HR module, if we do something in financial module for my product, okay, finance related thing we do, so that is not planning relevant. But anything that we do in sales and distribution, PP, quality, all those are inspection lot. So anything that is related to our production planning, etc., sales, those are planning relevant events. So then we maintain here that if any of such planning relevant event occurs, how does PPDS going to react? Okay, so that reaction we maintain here. So you see here the action. So in this planning procedure 4, we say for all these events, and we always maintain the same action, that create a planning file entry, which means don't do anything right now. Just create a planning file entry, and there is a T code by which we can see those entries. So what it does for everything, it just create a planning file entry. And then at night time, when we do the PPDS planning run, then it reads that planning file entry, and then it does the processing and then does everything that we are going to talk later. But then it does the netting and then create the planned orders and all that, which means till the time we are going to run the PPDS planning run, system is just going to create entries in planning file and does nothing till the time we do the planning run. Okay, so that's where this planning procedure 4 is used. Why this planning procedure is widely used? Because we don't want my system to be so much responsive that anything happens, I get a new sales order and then immediately PPDS runs a new PPDS run and we get a planned order. So if that happens, then every moment my system will keep on running PPDS planning run. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. Hence, usually this PP planning procedure 4 is used. So that's the action for each event. This is action. It creates a planning file entry, and then there is a reuse mode, and then there is a scheduling status. It's a these two are big topic, but I'm just going to touch upon right now. So what is a reuse mode? Reuse mode is the treatment of when the PPDS planning run happens, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more detail when we talk about PP002 heuristic. But it just says that when the new planning run happens, how do we want to treat my existing planned receipts, basically. So do I want to wipe out all the receipts and create a fresh new? Do I want to just use my fixed receipt and wipe out all the unfixed receipt? Okay. Do I want to delete unfixed receipts? Re-explode plan means whatever receipts I have, keep them as it is, but just re-explode it means I have a planned order. So re-explode this planned order to use the PDS of that point in time. So whatever PDS is right now in the system, so use that PDS in my existing planned order. So that's the re-explode
Yeah,
plan.
1 second there, 1 second.
Yeah.
I think these three, what you're looking at is pretty much similar to what we look at the planning planning method are 3, right? I think Siddharth, if you're there, you
Yes,
can write.
while doing MRP run, the planning method mode you use.
Yeah,
same like
yes.
that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it is pretty much the same thing. Yes,
Exactly, exactly. So we'll touch upon this certainly there as well. But just to give an idea, reuse mode just tells us how to use the existing receipts. And then scheduling status is whenever one of, so here in our lot of the things you see non-relevant, but wherever production related things are there, it says scheduled, means whenever the PPDS creates a new planned order, then do the scheduling. For other things, purchase order and sales order, etc., it's not relevant. Okay. Again, if everything is not understood, absolutely fine. But just to take away a point from here is that PP planning procedure is a setting that we associate with each product master, and that guides that for that particular product, if there is any planning relevant change happening during the day, how to respond. And in this case, if we maintain 4, it just creates a planning file entry and that's all. It does not do anything. It does not run the planning run at that point in time. Okay. So with that, we'll go back and that completes. So similar to this 4, obviously we have 2 and 1, and then such reactions are maintained here. Because that is not widely used, so that's why we didn't go into the system. Only 4 events are considered in 2, and we'll see there are peculiar cases where we use 1 or 2, but normally we use 4. Okay. And you can create your own PP planning procedure if you need, and there for that newly created, you can define what reaction to events and all that we want to do.
Where do we maintain that? We will explain this planning procedure.
Yeah, let's see where do we update this PP planning procedure. So in the material master, Jay will
if
show
you
us.
see the material master in advanced planning view, we do maintain this planning procedure. You can see the planning procedure here. Planning run with planning. We always select this if you want to go with all the planning.
Right.
So Jay,
Okay.
what will happen if we don't maintain anything here? Or is it a mandatory field?
I think we have to maintain this. This is the mandatory field.
Or advanced planning tab?
Yeah, advanced planning.
Let's see if it is mandatory. It's a good question. I never thought about it.
Me
It is such a basic thing. It should be mandatory. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see
Yes, it is a
specify
mandatory.
value.
Yes,
It's a mandatory field.
Got it.
It's such a basic thing that without this, people
because without this planning will not happen.
Yeah.
No, it is pretty much similar to PD in
exactly
in M01.
MRP type what we maintain. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now that we have seen these 3 configurations, first we saw was model and version management. High level, we understood it just represents the storage of data that we are going to use. The second we talked about was global parameters, where we saw that those number ranges and then some of the important parameters related to PPDS we maintained there. And the third we saw was PP planning procedure, which we're going to use in the material master as we saw. Now, next, we are going to talk about the heuristics. Now, what is a heuristic? And in order to do that, let me share my screen and then. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what is heuristic? Heuristic is very similar to the MRP run that we do in the sense that the purpose of heuristic is the same. So let me. I'm sharing my screen. So let me take example of one product, which is, let's say, what was the product number there? Let me show you that number. Yeah, MZ-FG-DS-003. So this was our product, and the plant we are using was 1710 probably. Okay, so this is product. Okay, so now So there are three things that happens with this product in terms of planning. So when we do planning, this means what? Planning, scheduling, and service. We'll talk later. So, so what is planning? Planning is about creating a net requirement, and then based on that net requirement, generating receipts. So this is the meaning of planning. Scheduling we'll talk little later. So this is the meaning of planning. So why do we plan? We plan because for this material we have different types of transaction data existing. So I have sales orders with requested quantity and dates. I have planned independent requirements. So we can have such different futuristics requirement elements associated to this product, for which we want to know whether I will be able to fulfill those requirements or not. And hence, we need to plan so that I can create a receipt element in advance, which if I execute in time, then I will be able to satisfy those requirements. Okay. Jay, you want to add something?
Yeah.
No.
Considering dependent requirement also.
Yeah, considering dependent requirements as well. So, so when we do planning, there are certain elements that we consider, and then the net outcome of performing planning is to generate receipts. Receipts in our case, it will be planned orders. Generate new planned orders so that we are able to cater to the shortages, if any. Okay. Now let me just show you in a timeline view. Okay, so let's say day 1, and then there are just seven days. I'm just showing you this way. So for this product at this plant, one more. Yeah, for this product I have a sales order, and this sales order will have so much detail, but for planning I just need a date, the requested date and the quantity. So let's say there was a sales order 1 in which customer is requesting 100 quantity to be shipped to him on day 4. Okay, day 4 I'll just write, today is 16/11. Yeah. So let's say we have an open sales order today on 16th, which says that the delivery date is 19th November and the quantity is 100. Okay, we are looking at stock on hand, and I can see that I have 30 quantity right now. And for simplicity, let's say nothing is there, nothing else. No other transaction data is there. So if you go to MD04 for this combination, we just find these two things. So then we need to run planning, which will check that there is a requirement of 100 quantity on 19th. We have only 30 quantity on 16th, which means there is shortage. There is going to be a shortage of 70 quantity on 19th of November. So we should produce something. We should produce this product so that we are able to get 70 quantity more on 19th, and then 30 today. I already have 70 we get on 19th, and hence we will be able to deliver 100 quantity for the sales order. So what is planning? Planning is about netting these requirement against these receipts that I have, and then if there is any shortage, any net requirement, that net requirement should be considered for generating new receipts. This new receipt is our planned order. Anybody has any question in this basic fundamental concept of netting? Okay, no.
So sorry. One particular quantity at a given point of period in future, a month from now, let us say 100. So that can be split into multiple quantities, right? So that's what you are saying, for different dates.
Multiple quantities for different dates. So right now you see in this example, we are having a shortage of 70. Okay, so when we are doing planning right now, so there is a shortage of 70. Now what it means is that I need to finish the end date of this planned order is 19th November, which means depending upon the time it takes, the routing will check the routing.
No. Sorry. I think my question was a bit different. So out of this 70 that you are showing, my question was whether it is possible to have 35 each on 18th and 19th.
It's possible, but system will not allow, not try to do that, because I need this 70 quantity on 19th. So unless and until
No, is it a feature of a PPDS heuristic possibility?
What was that question?
Is it a feature of, for example, I asked the question on 35 quantities being produced on 18th, 35 on 19th. So does the PPDS system provide a framework to such a requirement?
To split that, yes, splitting can happen, but not by this this netting heuristic will not do that. Netting heuristic always try to produce the shortages as close as the requirement date. But the next heuristic, which is going to do a finite scheduling, if it finds that 70 is not possible to produce in this bucket, then it will go back and then it will do the split, and then it will put 35 here and 35 here.
So perfect.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to know.
Correct. Splitting is driven by something else, but our planning heuristic will just ensure that we are getting 70 right on time. Okay. Right.
Lot size also play a role, right? Lot size.
Lot size does play a role. Yes. So here, this output of 70 will come for the lot for lot setup. If there is a lot size, if you maintain lot size of, let's say 100, then it will give you 100 here, because even though shortage is 70, because of the lot size, it will make it 100. So we'll just look at that in a moment. Okay. So we have different type of heuristics. Okay. So there are 3 types of heuristics. I'll write it here. Heuristics, types of heuristic, and I think I've already written it here. So there is a planning heuristic, there is a scheduling heuristic, and there is a service heuristics. So today we are going to go into details of this planning heuristic. There are different types of planning heuristic, multiple planning heuristics are there. We will go in there, and then we'll talk about the service heuristic. The scheduling we'll talk in the next session. This planning heuristic PP002 is supposed to generate this 70. So it works at the product level, product location combination level. It looks at all the planning relevant transaction data for this product at this location and does the net calculation, and based on the net calculation shortages, it proposes or it creates the planned order. While it does that, it does look at the lot size setup, and from the scheduling perspective, what it do is what we are going to now see. So we are now going to look at this PP002 in detail in the system. Okay, and you understood the purpose. The purpose of this PP002 is to perform planning, which means to create this planned order. Generation of this planned order is going to happen. So we are going to share screen from the other system. Yeah, so in SPRO, we are going to look at the heuristic. Okay, where is 002?
MRP underscore 002, right?
No. PP002. This one.
PP002.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Now, this is the standard heuristics that SAP has provided. The name is SAP PP002. Underlying algorithm, and I think this is what the function that we had seen earlier, is heuristic planned standard lots. Okay, and without going too much inside it, so what happens? This piece of code, ABAP code, is supposed to perform the planning run, does the netting, and then it creates the new receipts. And when it creates the new receipts, at that point in time, it looks at the lot sizing procedure, and there are a few things that it looks at. Okay, so while this algorithm, this ABAP code, has the ability to create new receipts, it does give us some flexibility in terms of when it is creating the new receipt, what type of lot sizing procedure we want to use. Okay, so what happens? We create this heuristic and we use this function, but in this function, it gives us the ability to use multiple different types of lot sizing. So I can create a new heuristic. I can just copy this heuristic and create new, where my algorithm remains the same, and then I use by period the lot sizing. So basically, this algorithm is the heart of this heuristic. But when we talk about the heuristic, it uses the same algorithm, but there are different setups for which I can create a new heuristic. I'll take a pause. Is this clear what I am trying to convey?
No, I don't see any value add here actually from a heuristic viewpoint. For example, what can you go back to the eye? Click mark on the eye.
Yeah.
And just
okay.
If you read this,
okay.
Based on the algorithm, blah blah blah, executes procurement planning to cover the product requirement during heuristic is able to create new receipt. So this is what exactly the MRP does, right?
MRP, yeah. So how
what is the difference
MRP
here?
and how MRP and this heuristic is different, we'll talk about that. But what I was trying to answer right now is that what is this function or this algorithm? This algorithm is the piece of code which is inside this heuristic. So this heuristic PP002 refers to this code, and for this 002, you see the lot sizing procedure is right now we have not maintained. I mean, SAP has not maintained anything. Okay, if I want to create a new heuristic, for example, so I just copy this. There is a copy option. Let's say copy. Okay, and I say Y SAP 002. Okay, and then I'll just write it. I might not save it. Y. So again, this Y heuristic refers to same algorithm, and then I say use lot size setting, and I use fixed lot size and say 100. So what is different between this heuristic and the standard heuristic? The algorithm remains the same. Okay, the piece of code, ABAP code that is referenced by both of these heuristic, Y heuristic and the standard one, remains the same. But what is the difference? The difference being when I use this Y SAP 002, my receipt elements will be created for, my planned orders will always be 100 quantity. So this function, this algorithm is the core that remains the same across these two heuristic, but then because of the other setups that it allows us to make, I can have two different heuristic.
So this algorithm, whatever is written in front of that is basically a function module.
Yeah.
So we have a function. We have a function module, and for a given function module, what the PPDS has provided as a differentiator is a different value inputs. For example, as you saw that the procedures are so different, strategies might be different, minimum lot size or tolerances, and many other inputs. The inputs that are provided to this function module of this particular heuristics can be different.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, I understand. Unlike in MRP, you have only 1 point, only 1:1 relationship.
Exactly. Girish, in nutshell, the algorithm is a function module, and we can maintain our own function module. Okay.
Correct.
It's not like that it's a standard. We can maintain our own function module, and we can change the piece of code in that function module. And we have a different input field like lot size and other product sales. It will work based on that.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So I think we'll move from there. So I'm going to go to, so I'll just come out of this Y thing and we'll go back to the original thing again. And let's see.
Is also not capable of scheduling orders.
It will. It will. I'll just show you. So let's hold on for 1 minute and let's go step by step. So I was just here in the algorithm. We understand this is the piece of code which is responsible for the behavior of this heuristic. Now, this heuristic is supposed to do 3 things. Okay, the first is net requirement. So we saw in the Excel that for a product at a location, we had a sales order, we had the stock on hand, and then we wanted to do planning. So for doing the planning, we will use this heuristic and some other heuristic. So when this heuristic is run, the things that this heuristic is supposed to do are three. First is the calculation of net requirement. So when it does the net requirement calculation in my Excel, I just showed very high level, very easy example where I had a sales order and I have only stock on hand. But in reality, for a particular product at a location, we have multiple different types of MRP elements. So we will have sales order, we'll have deliveries, we will have released production orders already with some quantity, we will have inspection lots. So there are so many different types of transaction data already available for this for that particular material, and hence system needs to know how to utilize those different types of MRP elements during the net requirement calculation. So so that setup, and that is also configurable here. OK, so it says that when you are so in the netting, obviously there are two things. One is the requirement elements. So sales orders, planned independent requirements, deliveries, etc. are the requirement elements. And then we net those requirement elements against the fixed receipts that we have. So one of them, the easy one, is the stock on hand. So we just use that. But then we have some fixed receipts, which means the open production order, released production order. So it has not completed yet, but we know that because it is released, we are going to get it at some point in time. We have inspection lots, we have fixed planned orders. So we need to tell system that during the netting, do we want to consider those fixed receipts? Usually actually the answer is yes. The netting does consider those fixed receipts. And then while those fixed receipts are considered, they are lying into different time buckets. So as I showed you in the Excel, that my requirements is 5 days from today. The released production order might be completing 3 days from today. So it will be becoming stock only on the 3rd day from today. So then we need to tell the system how to treat those fixed receipts during the net requirement calculation. So there are multiple methods by which it treats those fixed receipts. Now, I don't know if we need to go into the details of this setup, but at a high level, if we talk about the first in, first out, what it means is that if I have a released production order, which is going to be finishing on the 3rd day from today, then that day's requirements. So if there is any sales order on 3rd day, then that sales order of 3rd day will be consuming this production order, which is finishing on day 3. Or if I have day 4, day 5 sales orders, and then there is a day 3 production order available, I might use Excel to show that. Then first in, first out means any future dated sales order will be first using my production order of day 3, and then if there is a shortage, then it will go for any other days of production order. Means any receipt that I am getting today or tomorrow will be used first to fulfill my requirements. So if we give this setting, then the planning run happens that way. I mean, the netting calculation happens that way. There are other setup also by which it will consider those receipts, avoid surplus, avoid delays. So these are all different setups that guides my heuristic how to treat those existing fixed receipt elements during the netting process. And this is the difference between MRP and PPDS. MRP does not have that much understanding how to treat these receipts differently.
Yeah, MRP always select the avoid surplus, means whatever the receipt we have in future, that will consider for calculating the net requirement.
Okay, all right. So this tab, which is the basic settings tab of this heuristic, it has all this setup that we need to provide. So as Jay mentioned, if we use the avoid surpluses, then it will start behaving exactly like MRP that we have in S4. So it has a feature where we can make it to work as MRP, but then we have different options where it will act different to MRP by using other options. I'll just touch upon one or two other fields that we have. Group past requirements. So if we check this one, what will happen if I have some sales orders, open sales order backlogs? So then what it does is that it groups all of them, and then all of them grouped together makes one big number for the current bucket, and it becomes the requirement for current bucket, that big number. Why that is useful? Because if we are doing some lot sizing, then if we don't group all of them in the past, for each individual requirement, we get the lot size based planned orders, and that may not be a good plan. So grouping sometimes is required so that all the past stated requirements, open requirements are clubbed in the current bucket, and then we get one receipt based on the lot size. So there are certain situations in business for which we can use all these check boxes, and then our heuristic will work that way. So this can be one of the
Pankaj, can you come again? I explain one
Yeah.
more time on the group past requirements.
Group past requirement is that if I have open backlog sales orders, so 10 days back I have one sales order of 10 quantity for this product, and then 5 days back another 20 that is still open. So if you look back in the past, 10 and 20, there are two different sales orders that are there. If we check this box, what heuristic will do, it will consider, so there is no date change happening as such. You will still see those sales order in those dates only. Yes, but during the netting process, it will add 10 and 20, and it will treat 10, 20 is equal to 30. It will treat 30 as the requirement in current bucket. And then it will try to give a planned order for 30 in the current bucket. And then it will consider lot sizes, etc. Anything is maintained. So similar to that, there are more options which we can use, and then accordingly heuristic will behave. Okay. Plan with shelf life. This also we'll touch upon in greater detail when we talk about the shelf life based heuristic SL001. So that's why I'll not touch right now, but it has the capability to look at the shelf life of existing stock on hand from the batch related classifications that we have. And then it can also look at the shelf life of the planned orders, production orders. So if we check box this, which we will not do for 002 because there is a different heuristic and that's where it is checked. But then it has the capability to read the shelf life, remaining shelf life of the existing receipts elements, and then plan accordingly. So a lot of all these things are there. So basic setting tab of this heuristic has all these options available, and based on business requirements, we can use one of them.
This is the major difference we consider normal MRP and this planning.
Correct. So there are a lot of differences, and then within this heuristic also we will go to the next two tabs as well, and we'll see. But as you understand, it works in sequences. So first, based on this basic setting that we provide, it is going to calculate the net requirement. The calculation is going to happen. When the net requirement is calculated, then how to create a receipt to fulfill that net requirement is going to be determined based on the lot sizing setting and strategy, which we are going to take a look at. And then even in basic setting, there is a setup regarding the create new receipt. So here again, for those net requirements that we get from above setup, how to treat or how to create the new receipts. So for that, there is a setup. I'm not going to go much into details, but you can read it about this. So it sorts those net requirement based on either dates that so I have a net requirement for tomorrow, and I have a net requirement even for 5 days from today, because for a product I have sales orders in multiple dates from today. So then what it does is that if the sort procedure is one of them, so it look at your demand, and then it sorts according to chronological order, means according to the date or the time. Okay. And then reuse mode is about when you have already sorted your net requirements of different dates, how to check the fulfillment of those requirements. So use suitable receipts. So now it is looking at my stock on hand. It is looking at my open fixed receipts, and then does the netting. And then based on this setup, it will perform netting, and then for the shortages, it will create the new planned orders. Okay. So all this reuse mode, reuse strategy, first in, first out, all these obviously you will have to read it, but then all these setting is going to help this heuristic decide that how to treat the existing receipt and then how to create the new receipt. Okay. We will move to the, and then there are all different. Retain mode is about if you are going to you retain the existing planned order, and if the reuse mode is re-explode, so then that planned order will be subjected to explosion, and in that explosion it will check the PDS, and then so when it is checking the PDS, it will still try to retain the work center or resource that is. So these are little bit details. Obviously, when you read it, you will understand it. But then all those settings are going to help us to understand how this heuristic is going to treat the existing receipts, and then how it is going to create new receipt. That's the basic setting. In creating the new receipt, it also looks at the lot sizes. So here, in the standard PP002 heuristic, SAP has not used any lot sizing setup here. So what will happen then? It will default to the lot sizing setup that we have for there in the material master or the product master. And if we have not maintained anything there also, then I don't know what it is going to do. But there are two places where it is going to look at. Now, I am not very sure whether the preference to lot sizing procedure is from the material master or from the heuristic. So that we'll have to check. But it is being maintained at two places. So maybe because the material master specific lot sizing is specific to material master. So I think that takes the precedence.
This is useful for if you have a lot size for different period.
Yeah, it may be useful there.
So
correct.
We have a different
correct. We can. But I was thinking if we are using PP002, obviously we have the lot sizing setup here. Standard. Then I think if we maintain here as well as there is a lot sizing procedure in the material, then material takes the precedence over this because for that matter. But we can check that. OK, so this is the lot sizing procedure and the setup that we can maintain. And the third one is strategy. I think there was one question which we had yesterday, I mean, in the last session. So what happens when this PP002 finds that there is a shortage of 70, then it creates the planned order of 70. While it creates the planned order of 70, it does consider the lot sizing method that is here all in the material master. So let's say assume that it is lot for lot. So then it will create the planned order of 70. Then it tries to find the dates of that planned order. What is the start date and what is the end date of that that planned order? So it goes to the PDS of that material and it checks how many operations it needs to perform and all that, and it finds out what is the capacity requirement for that 70 quantity. Now that it got the total time required to have that 70 produced, it has to put a start date and end date. While doing that, it is not allowed to perform any finite scheduling. Okay. So that there is a scheduling mode that so this heuristic will calculate the total capacity requirement. And based on that capacity requirement, it will calculate the start date and end date of that planned order. But while it is calculating the start and end date of that planned order, it is not supposed to go and check whether those work centers that are involved in this planned order have capacity or not. That's not the work of this heuristic. OK, so whenever this heuristic is running, it is supposed to do infinite scheduling. I'll take a pause. Anybody has any question? For finite scheduling or for any scheduling purposes, we have different heuristic that will run in sequence later. But when we run this heuristic, our sole purpose is to perform netting and generate planned order for the shortages. And when it does the netting, it respects all the setting that we have here. And there's several settings. It respects the lot sizes if we maintain here or in the material master. So it respects all those things. And in order to give the dates to the planned order, it does not do scheduling. It does not check the capacity availability of the work centers. However, it has a planning direction. So there are 4 options to give that. What it means is that my planned order, and in the example that we showed, I had the 70 shortage and then I needed that 70 to be produced by 19th. because on the 19th I needed to deliver 100 quantity to my customer. So what will happen in this backward and reverse? So if this is the setup, then the planned order finish date will be 19th, and from there it will go backward. So 70 quantity, let's say it takes 48 hours. Okay, so that calculation will do from PDS, and then 19th is the end date, and then it will go to backward. And then backward it gets that, okay, 17th is when I need to start. Now, since 17th is still tomorrow, it is in future, then my planned order is good. But imagine if that 70 quantity needed 7 days. So then it goes, so 19th is the end date, goes back 7 days, means 12th I need to start, but we are already on 16th. So then it will do reverse. So then it takes the start date as 17th, adds 7 days, and then it makes the end date of the planned order as 23. So that is the meaning of this backward and reverse. So it does infinite scheduling, means it does scheduling, it does understand and calculates my start and end date for the planned order for the shortage that I had. But at that point in time, it is not going to check whether my work center is already loaded with other planned order or not. It is infinite scheduling. Anybody has any question? Okay.
So we can use this finite scheduling here. What happens if we have a heuristics with the finite scheduling for this particular heuristic?
No, in planning heuristic, Girish, there is no finite scheduling. We have to go with infinite scheduling. For if you use this planning heuristic, and if you consider the scheduling part, it will work same as what we work
so
at
that's
in the MRP.
Okay. I didn't drill down. See the drill down. I thought
so
maybe in the drill down,
if you use the planning
heuristic,
heuristic, it will always go with the infinite scheduling. We
Correct,
have
correct.
to use
Logic,
the
logic.
different heuristic which we
And
use
we'll
for
see.
scheduling.
We'll see that.
That's pretty logical, right? Because
Correct.
you can't have this logical, restrained capacities with having replenish any amount of quantity for a particular given material, right?
Exactly. We have to go with the sequence, like, first planning and
additionally,
then scheduling.
Additionally, what you said, Girish, just imagine if this heuristic is creating the planned order for my shortage. So it's got that 70 is my shortage. So if this heuristic is also supposed to do finite scheduling, so what will happen? We will not be, so if I have two products being produced at the same work center, so whatever is the first product that is being planned, that will capture my work center capacity first, and then the second product which is being planned will not get that work center for itself. So by default, whatever comes second in the planning becomes the loser. But it may happen that second product is more priority for me. So what happens? We use this planning heuristic just to create planned orders, do overload to my work centers, no problem. And then I have my own priority and criteria for rescheduling those orders. So we'll do the rescheduling later, where we'll give that heuristic my prioritization as to when there is a conflict between two products, two planned orders, who is more priority for me and who is less, then we can do the scheduling according to my priorities. So that's why we don't use this to do the scheduling part.
Yeah, so I think we can safely think this particular heuristic as nothing but MRP with some
MRP,
exactly.
masala thrown in.
Masala based MRP.
Correct. So standard MRP,
With more
standard
masala.
MRP doesn't have a different constraint based planning. Okay, but this heuristic, we have a constraint based planning. For example, shelf life or any other splitting of that protocol. Yeah. That is the difference between standard MRP planning and this PPDS planning heuristic.
Yeah, very nice. So obviously, I think certainly within 2 hours of our session, we cannot go into the details of each of these fields, but I would like encourage every one of us to go into details when you get time. But what we are trying to cover is the high level purpose of this and most of the critical points. So I think that's what we covered. So now we go back and this becomes the fundamental foundation of our planning heuristic. PP00 is the most fundamental. Now we will look at the PP004. It is very similar. So I'll just go inside and it will be very quick now. So again, it has an algorithm. So we know this is the ABAP code. Nothing to go much into detail. So this is the ABAP code, and 004. What is difference than 002 in this is that It has the basic setting, which is where we do the net requirement. All same things are there, nothing different. OK, everything is same. But within the lot size, we have the ability to maintain the lot size in the time phased manner. So in the previous one, in the 002, if we put a lot size, let's say as lot for lot, so that will be applicable for the entire PPDS horizon. So if I have 90 days of PPDS horizon, so if any planned order is being created in 90th day, that will also follow lot for lot. And if there is any planned order we're creating on 10th day, that is also going to follow lot for lot. But in this heuristic, we can define lot sizes for different timeline. So for the first 3 days, I can have lot for lot. For the next 30 days, I can have fixed lot size. And then in the future weeks, I can have periodic lot size.
So we can use the planning calendar, based on the planning calendar, we can plan the lot size.
Right. So that's the additional capability that this heuristic provides. So you see here, short-term horizon. So by default, 4 weeks, it wants to do this periodic lot sizing procedure. Then it defines something as medium term. It has not given the period, but we can put the period and then we can define what procedure, lot for lot and all that. So basically, this has the capability to have lot sizes different in different time horizon. Rest of the things are same as 002. Then there is a 007. Reorder point planning. Again, it has obviously it has its own this one algorithm. It has little bit different basic settings which we can see, but many of us being from PP background, we know that reorder based planning is little different than the forecast based planning and all that. So there is a min, there is a max, there is a reorder point. So this heuristic has those understanding. Now, one of the important thing is that we usually do reorder based planning for non-critical items. So it is recommended that if there is a component that I want to do planning based on reorder point, usually we do using MRP. But if those components are in-house produced and they are critical, they are being produced in the bottleneck resources, then we can use this reorder point planning to plan those components. But usually this is not used. PPDS, I have not seen this being used in PPDS, but it has this capability. If somebody want to use it, we can use it. So this is reorder based planning, point planning, and then we'll go to the shelf life. OK. Shelf life SL001. SL001.
Sorry, anything common across this SAP_PP heuristics?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Functionalities.
Yeah, the commonality is that all the 4 or 5 heuristic that we just spoke about, PP002, 004, the common theme is that all of them are supposed to do net calculation, create planned order for the shortages, and don't do finite scheduling when it is creating the planned order. That's common. The output is going to be planned order in all of these. They are planning heuristics. However, the difference being the first one will not have time phased lot size capability. The second one, 004, will have. So when it is creating the planned order, we can control the creation of the planned order with different lot size in different timeline. So that's the differentiation, and the commonality is that all of them are going to create planned order for the shortages.
So okay. We're not looking into the complexities here as of now. I mean, much complexities.
Yeah, complexity means yeah, we're not going into each of the fields.
Yeah,
details.
Actually, in
no. I mean,
Girish,
from a business perspective
Girish,
itself.
Yeah, Girish, I'll tell you. These are all the planning heuristic. Okay, what we do in the MRP, but these are heuristic. We can go with the constraint-based planning, like we tell, a lot size, different lot size, self-life base. So these are the capabilities which these heuristics have. Okay, like a constraint-based planning, only planning, calculate the net requirement.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this then. So again, this is shelf life based heuristic. So how it is different than the other one, the earlier ones, it will have this tick. I think I talked about this. So because we don't talk about this there because we have a special heuristic that plans with shelf life. Now, there is a meaning to this. So what is the meaning? The meaning being, when we do the planning without shelf life, we don't look at the validity of my stock on hand. So when I have a batch managed product, I do have an associated batch. So if I have, let's say, stock of 100 quantity right now for my product, and it has this 100 quantities within 2 batches. I have 2 batches of in which I have this 100 quantity. And imagine batch 1 is expiring today, and the batch having batch 1 is having 50 quantity, and batch 2 is having 50 quantity, and that is expiring 5 days from now. I have a sales order with 100 quantity to be delivered on day 5. So if we don't do a shelf life based planning, what will happen? I have 2 batches of 50-50. So I have 100 total stock on hand, and I have a sales order of 100. So PPDS run will tell that there is no net requirement because 100 is a stock on hand, 100 is my requirement. So don't produce anything. You have enough. But in reality, my batch 1 is expiring today. So I cannot use this 50 quantity from batch 1 to deliver to the 100 sales order that I have on day 5. So if we run this heuristic PPSL001, it will understand that batch 1, even though it is available today, right now, it is not going to be useful to deliver on day 5. So this heuristic will propose a planned order of 50 quantity for day 5. So that's the capability that this heuristic brings. It has rest of the things all same as PP002, but it has the understanding of shelf life associated with all the existing receipt elements. Does that make sense?
This is majorly used for processing industry.
Yeah, this is majorly used for processing is actually food industry also. Wherever low shelf life things are there, this is utilized. Okay, so I think we covered most of the planning related heuristics that we have. Obviously, there are a little bit some more heuristics are there in planning, but and we can go into detail individually to them. But what I would like to conclude this topic with is that all these planning heuristics are supposed to perform net recurrent calculation, and generate planned orders. While generating the planned order, they are not supposed to do finite scheduling, and hence they will just going to create planned order based on the different setups that we have in these different planning heuristics. Okay, shall we take a break?
Can you show us one capacity-based heuristics, just for our understanding?
Capacity-based heuristics, scheduling heuristics. This one, SAP 0.
These are the scheduling heuristic. We will cover.
And these are the these are the options when we do the finite scheduling. Excuse me. 5 of them are.
Yeah, there are 3 different heuristic planning, which we just talk about that. And then second is the scheduling heuristic, which will do the finite scheduling based on the available capacity. And then third one is the service heuristic.
Yeah, service heuristic. So this one, this one is the scheduling heuristic, which we'll talk on next session. Because before going to detail of this, I need to kind of talk about what is scheduling and what are the options when we do finite scheduling and all that. So we need a little bit of background before we do that. But these are the scheduling heuristics. So SAP 1001, 002, and obviously there are different options that were used. So we'll go into detail of this.
But in nutshell, this scheduling heuristic does not create any procurement proposal. It will just schedule the existing receipt, whatever we have the plan order on.
Correct.
So the already existing MRP element will be adjusted as per
Yes. So we are going to show how we run the PP planning run, and there are steps in that. So stage numbering is step 1. Planning heuristic is step 2, which is where PP002 will come into picture. So step 2, we create the planned orders for the shortages. Step 3 is scheduling if we want to and the scheduling can be based on this or the service heuristic that we are going to talk about later. And then step 4 can be PPDS optimizer. So there are sequence of jobs that we run in sequence. And that's why PP planning heuristic runs first to generate the planned order, and then sequencing heuristic runs after that to move those planned orders around.
We will cover this in next deep dive session.
Correct.
So how to run this all three heuristic in sequence, like planning, then scheduling, and then service order.
Yes. So shall we take a 10-minute break and then come back and talk about the service heuristic next?
So sorry, Jay and Pankaj, one quick question. So when we have let us say we have a rush order, in that case, which type of heuristic that you recommend? We recommend, I mean, as a consultants. There are scenarios of rush orders frequently happening.
No, rush order means this sales order. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's up to us as a planner. Do I want for this additional sales order? Do I want to get a planned order right away? If that is the answer, then I can create a PP planning procedure where I can say that the reaction to the events of new created sales order should be a PPDS planning run. So then this heuristic will be called immediately the sales order is created. But so it's all upon the planner how he wants the system to behave for those.
No, but in that case, what we have seen in the actual systems is, so the capacity gets overloaded. So in that case, what we are going to do in the second step?
So correct. So what will happen? PPDS run will generate the planned order. That planned order will be, so then planner has to go in the detailed scheduling board, which we'll cover later. And then he will see if there is a overloading happening. And at that point in time, he can run a scheduling heuristic, or he can manually drag and drop to reschedule those orders. So all these options are there. Probably we will take this question once again when we cover all the three heuristics, and we'll look at the detailed scheduling board.
It will cover in scheduling part, Girish.
Fine. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, 10 minutes break.
Shall we take a 10-minute break?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
Okay, so we are back. So in the next 30 minutes, we are going to look at the next heuristic type, which is service heuristic. But before we do that, we just take another 2 minutes to see how this PP002 is going to create a planned order. Okay, so Jay can run that in and show us. You are still able to see the screen, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Heuristic, advanced planning, and then production planning, interactive planning.
Product, yes.
So we'll select the version, which is active version 0001, and then our product. So this is for the particular product, we can run for multiple product like MD01. So I will delete this plan order. So you can see this is a product view. Here also we can create a requirement also, like a plan independent requirement. Okay, no need to go in MD62 and create a plan independent requirement. Here also we can create our own PIR in this product view. Okay, I'll delete this.
The recording is still on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's on.
Okay, okay.
So I'll refresh it.
So let's do this. Let's delete this forecast and we'll create a new forecast.
Yeah.
And let's put the date of that forecast to be 25th of November.
I will open MD04 also parallelly. Yeah.
Okay. You have created the PIR. Oh, okay. You have to delete it from here. No? We have to. MD61.
MD62. 62.
The past. So
You can see it is deleted.
correct. Okay. So now we'll create a new forecast for the date of 25th 11, which means that we need to deliver this quantity by 25th 11.
Now, if you see the MD04, there is no any requirement or receipt.
Correct.
Okay, we have only 5 stock of 5 quantity. Okay. So it is synced with product view. So you can see there is no any requirement or receipt.
The date, let's take 25th 11.
So we'll create one requirement, forecast requirement for
To be delivered on 25th of November.
yes,
100 quantity.
yeah, and 100 quantity. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Minus and
Sorry.
refresh. Just do a refresh.
Undo.
Yeah.
Then go to
25th
25th.
and 100 minus.
So if you have a requirement, then you can create quantity with minus sign. So it will create a requirement. Okay. Then save it. So if you go to MD04, after running.
Yeah, and it might not show the forecast. Okay, forecast that we created is right now PPDS specific. Okay, and that is not going to come back. Only planned orders will come back. Okay, but the forecast that we create in MD61 was seen here. So that's okay. So right now, as we see, very similar to what we saw the example in our Excel. So now you can see in a timeline perspective, 10 days from now, approximately on 25th, I need 100 quantity because there is a forecast planned requirement. Today, I have how much? I have 5 quantity with me, which means I need additional 95 quantity. So I will run a planning heuristic. OK, so we are going to run a planning heuristic, which will suggest us to create a planned order quantity of 95. And it will also calculate what is the start date of that planned order, what is the end date of planned order. So we'll just go a little bit into detail of that, and then we'll go to the bottom up. So let's run. So this is how we run the product heuristic. Since this is one specific product for which we are doing the planning, so we can do it from here. But in reality, during the implementation of PPDS, there is an automatic batch job that runs. So we'll talk about that also a little later. So how to run a planning heuristic for this product? So click on the product heuristic here. So it has run and it has created a planned order here. You look at the the date of this planned order, 24/11, which is very close to 25/11. So this is the time. So and I think there is a GR. We'll see. There is a planned order number 324. This number is generated based on the number range that we have maintained
in PPDS.
In PPDS. So we just save it. And this number has changed. Why this number has changed? The moment we save it, it goes back to MD04. It takes the number from S4 and then comes back and then updates it. That's why it changed it.
It's a temporary create that first number.
So 324 was temporarily created. And if this connection, if this planned order will not go, if we stop that queue, if it does not go to M04, then it will retain this 324. Because it has gone back to S4, then it got the number range from S4 and then it came back and updated it. Okay, so we can see here.
One question here.
One
question.
Go ahead, yeah.
Sorry, I just ran one cycle yesterday. So I was able to get the purchase requisitions for the raw material component.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see that in MD04. Why?
You could not see that in MD04.
Yes.
So there can
and
be.
I went to that queue and pushed it, tried to push it through. C1, right? SAP PO C1.
Yeah.
So I tried to push it through, but no, nothing happened.
Got it. So
where should I look
that
into? In such cases, where should I look?
Yeah, so in the application log, we will find the error why it is not going across. Okay, so as you rightly checked the queue, so if there is an element that exists in product view here and it is not reflecting in MD04, means that queue which carries that information back, it has not passed to S4. So we need to check what is the error message, and then
error message was missing customizing, so I was a bit lost. So I just left it at that.
Maybe some issue.
So we can check that. So as you know, so it can be a specific issue. We can check that,
yes,
but that's the right approach. Okay.
Jai sir, in product heuristics, we can do the order split.
Order split.
Yes, in heuristics, variable heuristics.
Yeah, order split in the variable heuristic.
No, sorry. Yes, we can go to the heuristics. Go to.
Okay. This heuristic, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Product heuristics.
Yeah. So as we spoke earlier, why are we going to this heuristic? The purpose is to calculate the net requirement, which it calculates here looking at 105. So it finds that 95 is my shortage, right? And then it will create one planned order. So basically, and it can create one planned order of 95 because lot for lot strategy is there. if we have different lot sizing procedure, accordingly, it will try to create one planned order for this. But
Okay.
the splitting of this planned order will be driven by the scheduling heuristic. If there is a capacity shortage, then it might require to split this planned order. But this heuristic is not supposed to create multiple planned orders for the shortages. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now let's understand little bit of the details of this heuristic. So first of all, you see this heuristic was generated by the heuristic here, and I go to MD04 and you find this planned order is generated. Now one of the question was whether how do we find out that this was there is a star or not? So we don't see any star in this planned order. But if you go inside this planned order in the MD04 and go to display,
I think we have to run again.
Run again.
Yeah, now it's changed.
Okay, okay. See,
Okay.
Okay. Do a refresh. Yeah, go inside. We'll go inside. Go to the change mode. And there is a place where we can see action date. So I think this from this probably we will be able to know who created this.
I think this is the only.
Do we know? Do we know how to see who created this planned order? Probably when we create something else comes here.
Yeah.
So there is a place from where we see that it was created by PPDS, external entity. Okay, but that is not much important. So we can see that 95 quantity is created. What is important is to go inside this. So when you double click on this planned order, okay, you see there is a part called operations. Okay, so PPDS looked at the PDS of this material. Okay, in that PDS, as we saw the other day, we have had two operations, 10 and 20. And then for each of these operations, it calculated that for 95 quantity, how much time it needs for performing each of these operations. Okay, so it for 95 quantity, it thinks that not thinks, it calculated that it needs how much time? Where is the time?
I think if you click.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, we'll have to go here. Yeah, right here. So for operation 10, it is performed at this resource and it takes 10 minutes for the setup activity. The first one is setup activity and it is fixed. We have seen that it was fixed. And then for the next one, which is produce, it takes 23 hours, 30 minutes. So I think we maintained 30 minutes for one quantity. So yeah. 95 quantity means, so total quantity is 95 and then 30 minutes into 95 is around 49 hours.
Yeah.
And then it takes probably, if it is, we'll have to perform that calculation. We'll have to see this, yeah. But that's how it calculates. So it goes into PDS and checks in the PDS for one quantity, base quantity, what is the time we have maintained, and then it calculates for 95 quantity, how much time it is going to take. So it is taking 23 hours and 30 minutes. So based on that, it does the backward scheduling. So 2211 is the end date of that activity, and then it goes 23 hours back and it reaches 1811. I think there is a Sunday, Saturday in between. Yeah. 20 is Sunday, 19 is Saturday. So that's why it is starting from 18 and then finishing on 21.
And it will consider this also
packing line. Yeah. That will happen post assembly. Yes. So for packing line, we'll see it starts on 22nd and then finish on 24th. So how does it does the backward scheduling is that it understands that the operation 20 need to finish on 24th because 24th is the date when the planned order is finishing. So then it requires 23 hours, 30 minutes of time on this operation 20. So it has to start on 21, then only it will finish on 24th. So it takes this much time and then it starts the earlier operation to finish on 22 and then it goes back on 18th to start. So that's how it does that backward and reverse scheduling to determine the dates of this planned order. So anybody has any question in this?
Pankaj, one question here regarding the time. The
Yeah.
dates are okay, but the time, how it states the time is like 1811, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why it is taking 40 minutes? Why it is not starting from the 12? Specific settings are there for this?
I think we did not get the question. Which time is not clear?
See,
This 23:30?
no, not
40,
this one.
40 minutes he's saying.
Yeah,
What?
20. See, if you see on the top, right, first line, it
Yeah.
is activity start is on 2211, right? And
Yeah.
then activity start time, I think, up next to that next column
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
20. So for the
20.
first
Yeah,
operation, correct.
Yeah,
So,
correct. See, you can see that this operation should start at 22 second at 30. 30 minutes.
Okay.
okay. How it is calculating that time actually?
Yeah. See, if you see the 30 minutes, it should end 30 minutes.
I think he's talking about the time. So see, the starting point is this 24:11:00. This is the starting point of this process. So my planned order must finish on this date at this time. From where this is getting this 0:00:00 time, it's a customizing setting in SPRO. Okay, that within a bucket, within the date of 24/11/2022, the receipt must finish at the beginning of the bucket, at the end of the bucket, without going to the details there, but it's a customizing setup that determines this time. Okay, based on that setting. Now, once this date and this time is known to us, then do a minus of 23 hours 30 minutes in this. You will reach this date and this time. So 24:11:00 minus 23 hours 30 minutes will take you to 22:11 and 00:30.
okay, so it is a backward calculation.
It is a backward calculation. Yes.
Correct. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it's backward calculation.
Yeah.
It will consider the requirement date, okay, with the GR time, and then it will start the backward calculating from end date to start.
Correct. And who guides this to happen? We had seen that in PP002. So let's see which PPDS heuristic is running here.
PP0.
So this is PP004.
Yeah.
So PP004 and PP002 was similar in nature. The only difference being the lot sizing. So apart from lot sizing, everything else was same, which means what I was talking about. What that time I forgot. Scheduling piece. So if we go to the session, if we go back to 004 in SPRO, okay, yeah, that heuristic. Yeah, heuristics here. Maintain 004. Yes. So in this, you see within strategy, we have this backward and reverse. So that's why it first determine the date and time for the finishing of my planned order, which is 24th of the date, 24th November 00. And once it gets that, then it does a backward and reverse scheduling. So based on this, it got those dates and timings. Okay.
And if it is forward scheduling, then it will take the start time and then it will calculate the end date or like that.
Yes,
Correct.
correct.
Okay, got it.
Right. So that's where these settings impacts our planned order dates when it runs.
And
Okay,
one more thing here, like as you said, it will complete on 24:00, right? And if I want it to be like say 12 p.m. or
12,
something.
yeah.
So that settings are there for this? Or
yes, there is a setting. I think I probably might not remember right now. There is, just let me do one quick search. ATP.
So it is a config or it is a master data?
It's a config.
Config, okay.
It's
so
a config
it will be
where we
applicable for all the materials.
Yeah, it is going to be applicable for all the material. And at a high level in that config, we tell that whenever heuristics creates a receipt, that receipt should be available at the start of the bucket, and bucket being 1 day here. So 00 is the start of the bucket, or mid of the bucket or end of the bucket. So that is what we mention in this customizing. And accordingly, then it associates that time to that receipt element. It's just
This
that
is at the client level setting, right?
Yeah. We'll just check that and come back to this. Obviously, I think
Yeah.
I told how it happens.
We'll
But
check
we'll
that
find out
this
where
part.
it is. Okay.
Sure. Thank
Now,
you.
additionally, at this point, I just wanted to highlight one more thing is that this planned order also creates the dependent demand for the component. So we have had this component 22047. So you see, this is the dependent demand that was created. I think this already existed. Right now, our dependent demand is, excuse me, this 95. So this is 7549 is my planned order number. So because of that planned order, I am getting a dependent demand of 95. And then heuristic is also generating the purchase requisition for this component. So we are going to get this this component being purchased and delivered to us by 1711. So today being 1116, we will get this on 1711, and then we'll start the production and consume this component from 18th, and then we'll be able to get our FG by 24th.
So this is what I was talking about. So I am not. Ideally, this should show this purchase rate should show up in MD04, right?
Actually, something we need to check the setting we have issue in this system. The
So
purchase
can we
requisition
check
is
it
not
right
showing. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You're right. We have to check that configuration setting. Yeah, actually, you were right.
Okay.
Yeah. So purchase requisition is not saying something.
We'll check.
We'll check that
why this is not going across. So we can check tomorrow and come back. But you're right. The expectation is that this purchase requisition should come across in MD04, and then we will convert that purchase requisition to purchase order and we'll give it to the vendor. So that's how the process will work. Okay. All right. So we understand this as well. Now,
one more question here, please.
Yes.
So here, if you have the stock transfer order,
Yeah.
so whether it will consider for the other plant also from the production plant, like
Yes. Stock transfer
Yes,
order
yes.
for this component, right?
correct, not component,
Yes.
maybe semi-finished material or yeah.
Yeah, any other BOM material. Yes, so if there is a stock transfer, then we will have STR generated here, and there will be a corresponding demand on the source plant for that STR.
Yes.
So that will happen.
I think that is depend on our configuration setting. There
Yeah,
we can see the what are the different elements we need to get our interchange from
Yeah,
here.
correct.
Yeah, because
There
I'm
is.
running the heuristic for one plant, so the production plant is different, right? So
So you can see the setting of data transfer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So right now manually when we're running for one plant. But if we have such scenarios where we are having materials to be sourced from other plant, then we'll create such filter in which we include both the plants. So that's because we're going to run this in a background job. So in the background job, we give that selection criteria that which all the plants, which all materials we need to consider and all that. So that will happen.
But we should have the location of that plant.
Yeah. Location, that plant will be there as a location. Okay, so I think from here we can go to the next topic that we have is about the service heuristic. So imagine in this case, I think the plant delivery time for this material is nothing, zero right now. Can we maintain something as planned delivery time? Let's maintain some planned delivery period for this one. Two days. Okay. So let's make it 10 days.
Should transfer the ST.
Automatically. So we'll just check this number has reached there. Go to product master. Click the double click on that. Okay, here product master. In the ePPDS. Give me a second. So we'll see planned delivery time. Not here. Top size. Where does it come? Procurement. Okay, so thus this 10 has come. Okay, now I am going to go back and run the heuristic at for my FG once again. So you will see, because we are not changing the stock and the requirement quantity, we will still get this 95 quantity as the planned order, but the number will change. It will just delete this one and we will create the new one. Okay, so let's run this. Go to chain mode and run the product heuristic. So it has run, a new number has come, so save it. So 7550 is the new planned order. The quantity remains the same. But the finish date of this planned order is still the same. Okay. Now you imagine this planned order, this material requires that component, and in order to buy that component, we need 10 days. So how, and from today, even if we start the procurement of that component today, we will only receive that component on 26th, maybe 25th. So the purchase requisition date for that component will be of 25, and then only we can produce this planned order, isn't it? But that has not impacted the finish date of this planned order. So that's what we want to understand now. So you go to this. There's no. Yeah. Okay.
1711.
But this is still, the date is still 1711. I was expecting this to be 2611. Let me see. Run. Okay. Look at this plan purchase requisition now. It has, I don't know why one quantity is there. Okay, there is one. This was not changed. This got changed. If I delete this for now. So basically what I'm trying to show you is that the purchase requisition, yeah, I think there was something interesting, that's why it was not. Now you see the purchase requisition for this component has a availability date of 25/11. I think all of us understands why. While system understands that there is a demand on 18/11 and there was no available stock on hand. So I need to buy, because I need 95, I need to buy. But I needed to buy it 10 days before 18th so that I can get it on 18th. There is a planned delivery time of 10 days, but I cannot go back in past and then buy it. So what best we can do is to buy it from today. So if we buy it today, then from today plus 10 days is the time when I am going to receive it. So that's why this purchase requisition of 25/11 is there. So what it means is that the 95 quantity of this component will only be available to me on 25/11, and hence I cannot start my production of my FG before 25/11, right? But if you look at my planned order for FG right now, it is still starting on 18/11. So this plan is wrong. Are we on the same page? So this plan is wrong, but still PPDS does this way because the planning heuristic does not consider the availability of my raw material and to make an impact on the dates of my FG planned order. Okay, because that is not the work of my planning heuristic. So the work of the planning heuristic is just to do the netting, and if there is shortage, create the new receipt. That's all. And in creating the new receipt, it looks at the timelines, etc., and then it provides the date. It does not see the alignment of the date, and which is where our new heuristic comes into picture, which is our service heuristic and called the bottom-up heuristic. So we are going to look at our bottom-up heuristic, which has the responsibility to align these dates so that it makes a realistic plan. So what will happen when we run the bottom-up heuristic? It will push the start date of this planned order from 18th to make it to start from 26th. Why? Because my component is only available on 26th. So that's what is the purpose of that service heuristic, to align my plan based on the realistic availability of my components. That service heuristic is also have the capability of perform scheduling on the work center, but still that's not the major work that we want my service heuristic to do. While it does little bit of scheduling as well, we'll see what are the options for scheduling, but the majority of the task, the major functionality that we are expecting from my service heuristic is to align my dates based on the practical availability of the products. Okay, so then we can go to the SPRO once again. We will see the 009 setup. We'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, I think we in 10 minutes we'll close this. SPRO 009 heuristic will just go.
So you are talking about the bottom-up heuristic,
yes,
right? In the
yes,
case?
yes,
Okay.
correct.
So that's a part of service heuristics.
Yeah, this is
That
a
is-
service heuristic
that's
which
the part of
will
service.
not do the netting of that particular receipt and requirement. It will just change the date based on your constraint. For example, the raw material availability or that thing.
Okay. So I need to run a few cycles to understand more.
Yes.
Yep.
Obviously, we should run few cycles and we should check the settings and.
No, at least we should need guidance like this, right? Otherwise, you don't know, next to nothing.
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
I think one of the things that we should take away from this session is the fact that they're all in sequence. Things are happening in sequence. So there are multiple heuristic for one goal, which is about generating the planned order. There is another set of heuristic to perform bottom up, top down service heuristic. So it's all in sequence. Okay. 009 we'll see.
You can see this is a rescheduling. So it's a rescheduling considering the bottom.
Yeah. The moment you you look at the word scheduling, rescheduling, these heuristics have no capability to generate a planned order. Okay, generation of planned order is still with the planning heuristic 002, 004 and all that. So planned order is created by them, but then the alignment of those planned orders with respect to the availability of capacity or material is being done by the service heuristic or the scheduling heuristic that we see. Okay, very quickly going to details of this heuristic 009. So it's a service heuristic whose aim is to do a bottom-up planning. And what does this mean? Bottom-up planning means that in our scenario, which we are going through right now, we have one component which is procured externally. We see that the first purchase requisition of that component is getting delivered to us on 25th, and hence I cannot start my planned order for the FG before 26th. And hence, if we start the planned order of my FG on 26th, it will end by 30th or 31st. We'll see, or the 1st of December. So that's the realistic plan. And that's the plan that this bottom-up heuristic should provide me instead of what we have right now. Right now, my plan is all over the place. It is saying that produce your FG by 24th November by starting the production of that FG from 18th. And it is not considering that I don't have the raw material by 18th. Okay, so that correction we are going to do using this heuristic. Now look at these two tabs. So first is the basic settings. As I said, this heuristic is not supposed to generate the planned order. So there is no net requirement calculation is going to happen. It is going to look at the existing receipt elements, purchase requisitions, planned orders and all that. And then it is going to work with those only. Okay. So while it is working with those, these are the different settings that we have. So scheduling status. Order retains its scheduling status means what? Right now, our FG has one planned order created. It is starting on 18th and it is finishing on 24th. In this duration, it has already been scheduled on work center 1 from 18 to 22 to perform operation 10 and 22 to 24 to perform operation 20 on the second work center. So what this says, while we are going to move that planned order to start from 26th instead of 18th, we will still keep the order scheduled on those work centers. Okay, so when the movement is going to happen, the dates are going to change, but we still want to load my work center with this planned order. That's this. There's another option to deallocate. So what it means is that when we move my planned order to start from 18 to start from 26, don't load my work center with this new planned order dates. So we will talk about the meaning of this deallocation, what it means and all that in the next class. But for now, what we need to understand is that we have an option to tell the system that whether you want to keep the scheduling of the order when it is moving, or you don't want to keep that setting is there. Okay. Do the component check, whether you want to check the component or not. Here it is saying do not check other components. Okay, so obviously the components which are there as part of BOM, it is going to check upon that, but not other components. Assignment strategy, first in first out. So there are multiple things that it does, but it is all about the alignment of different existing receipts. It is not going to create a new receipt. Okay, that's one. And the second tab is about the strategy. Again, this strategy is about scheduling strategy. Okay, so let's see what is the scheduling strategy here. Again, it says do infinite scheduling. So it is not asking us to do finite scheduling, but because this is bottom up, you see the planning direction, it is forward. Okay, why forward? Because it starts from the components receipts. It looks at the availability date of that purchase requisition, and accordingly, it is going to do forward scheduling for the rest of the elements. So that's why it is forward direction.
It will not consider the requirement date of that particular.
Yes.
It will consider the
from the bottom
bottom
availability date of the component,
yeah.
And then it will push the planned order of our FG. Yeah. So now we are going to run this job.
Sorry,
this
so the planned order becomes the driving object here?
No, the purchase requisition of the components become the driver of changing the dates of
the low level component. The low level component receipt, that is the main driving up.
Yes.
When we are getting that receipt of low level, from that it will calculate the lead time.
Start date of this planned order.
Bottoms up. I mean, from all the raw material, semi-finished and up to
exactly.
Finished product.
And if you consider top up means it will consider the finished product.
That's also possible. Yeah, I saw that one heuristic existing for that.
Yeah, we have a different heuristic for that.
Yes, I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. So let's just let's see the impact of this. So right now this planned order 7550 has the finish date of 24/11 and start date of 18. Okay. The moment we run that heuristic, the start date will change from 18 to probably 26. So we'll see that. So how to run that heuristic? No. From here, can we run it? It will not allow us to change. Okay. So I think in order to run that, we'll have to, yeah, we'll have to go to the planning run. Okay. Save it. Okay, save it.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the planning run and then run that heuristic. Yeah. Automated plan. Yeah. So we'll touch detail of this little later, which is where we maintain the multiple steps. But for now, step one is fine.
Only one product.
Yeah, only one product. Yeah, stage numbering is fine. Let's go to the step 2. And here we'll select the 00. And third and fourth we will just.
So we have selected bottom up.
Oh, bottom up is already there. So, yeah. So just delete this. Or okay, let this run. One second.
We have a third one.
It's just that no, what will happen now? Our planned order number will change.
Yeah, that is okay. So it will create new plan order.
New plan order,
and then it will create and it will do the.
Or if we don't run this, then we keep that plan order and just change the date. So let's delete it. And this is fine. Reschedule. Let's delete this also. Otherwise, we will not know what it has done. Okay, now let's run it. So even though it is step 3, doesn't matter.
So as we said, we can run the heuristic sequentially. So this is the first one, planning heuristic. Okay.
No, this is not planning.
Sorry,
this is just a service type.
Which
is just going to do the stage numbering.
Yeah.
It is not doing
we can run sequence wise, like planning heuristic.
Correct. So we'll talk about that sequence little later. Right now we are here just to run this bottom up heuristic. So if you just run it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different product. Okay.
That's fine. So let's go to that product view. Product view.
RRP3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, change. You can see.
So you see that the date of this planned order has got changed. So now it is starting from 28th. 28th is the Monday. Yeah. So 26th, 27th being the Saturday, Sunday. So it starts from 28th. And then it takes whatever time it takes, and then it finishes on 112. This component, we know that it was coming to us by the end of the 25th, because 22, 25. So 26 and 27 being the Saturday, Sunday. So then it starts on 28th. So the FG starts on 28th. So now it is a realistic plan, which was not the case earlier. So what is the purpose of this service heuristic? To make the plan realistic based on the component availability. When we do the bottom up, there is a business scenario when we also need to do a top down. We'll talk about that a little later, but I think we are able to appreciate the fact that the purpose of planning heuristic is to perform net requirement calculation, generate the planned orders, and then the service heuristic is to ensure the alignment of these orders are practically feasible.
This is the beauty of PPDS, which we don't get in normal MRP. Yeah. Okay, I think we can.
Yeah, so I think at this point, obviously, we know that there are some more service heuristics, like 009 is the bottom up. There is another one which is top down. So there are few more heuristic which are service heuristic. But as long as we understand the purpose of these heuristic, I think we are good from this class point of view. More and more can be understood when you go and try yourself in the system. But purpose should be clear. And we can take a pause right now, because I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover for this class. Is there any question with anybody? Then we can take that question now. No question? Means everything is understood?
I think, today was a very, eye-opening for me. I had forgotten about this part.
Okay. Yeah. No, great. I think that's the effort that Jay and all of us are trying to make to simplify great. These and make it understood to all of us. So if you're able to do that.
If anyone has any question, you can connect me offline also. So we will get it clear. No problem.
Yeah, that one question I asked, I think we can. We can look at
it. We will cover that. We will check that setting.
I think you can check.
And anyone wants any system access, so you can just I will send the contact number, so we can connect him and we can get the system access.
All right. Okay. Good.
We'll connect on next Monday.
Yeah, the next session is on Monday. And
same time.
Between now and then, if you get time to do some exercise in the system, please do that. If you get time to read some of the SAP help documentation, please do that. That will help us to understand the next session. Because next session is little bit more complicated than what we have done today. Okay, so that's why that is kept.
And we will take some scenario like deep dive sessions. It could be the next session.
So understanding scheduling basics also is little complicated subject. So if you are well read by that time, then the session will be very useful.
Okay. At least don't worry. At least from my side, I will promise.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Then.
All right.
Thank you very much for the session, attending the session.
Yeah. Nice one. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, nice.